Marcus Chen hadn't taken a real day off in the 5 years since opening Bean There, his artisanal coffee shop that had transformed a struggling corner into the neighborhood's social hub. When his manager Ellie texted that her father had been rushed to the hospital, Marcus canceled his rock climbing trip without hesitation. Today, however, he decided on a small experiment. Dressed in worn jeans and a faded band t-shirt instead of his signature apron, he'd work alongside his staff incognito. "Consider me the new trainee," he told Zach, his newest barista with a sleeve of tattoos and a culinary degree. The morning rush flowed smoothly with several regulars doing double takes at Marcus working the register without recognizing him. By noon, he was enjoying this rare glimpse into how the shop functioned when customers didn't know they were ordering from the owner. As the lunch crowd thinned out, Marcus took the opportunity to reorganize the pastry display, something he'd been meaning to suggest to the staff for weeks. From behind the glass case, he overheard two college students raving about the shop's atmosphere. "I swear the owner must be some kind of coffee psychologist," one said. "Every time I come in here, it's like the vibe is perfectly calibrated to whatever mood I'm in." Marcus smiled to himself, silently noting that the carefully curated playlist and seasonal lighting adjustments were indeed intentional choices he'd implemented after reading 3 books on environmental psychology. At 1:30, Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "How's the day off going?" Finally, at that climbing spot, he typed back, "Change of plans. Doing some undercover research at the shop. You wouldn't recognize me without my apron." She responded with an eye roll emoji and workaholic. Marcus couldn't deny it, but this didn't feel like work. It felt like rediscovering his creation through fresh eyes. He noticed how Zach had a talent for remembering customers' names after just one interaction, how the afternoon barista Layla subtly adjusted the music volume as the crowd changed, and how regular customers had created their own unspoken system for sharing the prime window seats. These were details he missed when everyone was on their best behavior around the boss. The bell above the door chimed at precisely 2:17 p.m. Marcus was restocking beans when he heard it, that particular tone of voice that made every service worker's spine stiffen. "Excuse me, but is this some kind of joke?" The woman's voice cut through the cafe's ambient jazz like a siren. She stood at the counter, designer handbag hanging from her elbow, phone in one hand and an untouched latte in the other. Her highlighted bob swung as she leaned toward Zach, who was already apologizing, though it wasn't clear for what. "I specifically asked for oat milk, and this is clearly almond. I could have died." Marcus watched as Zach checked the order ticket and began to explain that she had indeed ordered almond milk. The woman, who would soon become known throughout Being There as Karen, slammed her cup down, splashing coffee onto the sleek wooden counter. "Let me speak to your manager right now." Marcus observed from his position near the bean grinders as Karen's perfectly manicured finger jabbed toward the digital receipt Zach was showing her. "I don't care what your little computer says. I know what I ordered." Her voice carried through the cafe, causing a pair of students to put in earbuds and an elderly man to glance up from his newspaper with raised eyebrows. Marcus noticed Karen's Mercedes key fob dangling from her purse, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the afternoon light, and the small Greenwich Heights board pin on her blazer lapel. A recent transplant from the upscale development 3 miles away, he deduced, the kind who brought suburban expectations to their quirky artistic neighborhood. Zach, to his credit, maintained remarkable composure. "I'd be happy to remake this with oat milk, ma'am. No charge." His tattoo-covered arm extended to take back the offending beverage, but Karen recoiled as if he'd offered her a dead rat. "Don't touch my drink." "How do I know what you people put in there already?" A woman sitting at the corner table, a local artist who came in daily for inspiration, audibly snorted at this accusation. Karen's head snapped in her direction. "Something funny." The artist quickly returned to her sketchbook, but the tension in the room had ratcheted up several notches. Marcus could see Lila working the espresso machine, shooting concerned glances at Zach while simultaneously texting someone, probably warning Ellie about the situation unfolding during her absence. He decided it was time to move closer, especially when he noticed Karen's hand drifting toward her phone, her expression shifting from mere irritation to calculated outrage. "Maybe I can help," Marcus said, approaching the counter with the casual confidence of someone who designed the shop's layout, created its menu, and personally selected every coffee bean supplier. Karen turned, sizing him up with narrowed eyes. "And who are you supposed to be?" Her tone suggested he ranked somewhere between gum on her shoe and the almond milk allegedly threatening her life. "I'm new here," Marcus replied with disarming honesty, "but I'd be happy to make you a fresh drink exactly how you like it." This reasonable offer seemed to fuel rather than diffuse Karen's indignation. "I don't want another drink made by InHuMPTNTS," she announced loud enough for everyone to hear. The cafe grew uncomfortably quiet as other patrons lowered their laptops and removed earbuds. Karen produced her phone, snapping photos of the counter, of the menu, even Zach's name tag. This place is FINISHEG. Do you even know who I am? I have over 3,000 Instagram followers, and my husband plays golf with the city health inspector. Marcus maintained his composure, drawing on 5 years of handling difficult customers, though none quite this theatrical. I understand you're upset, he said in the measured tone he used during supplier negotiations. Why don't we step over to this table and discuss what would make this right for you? He gestured toward a quiet corner, hoping to contain the situation. Karen's response was to laugh, a sharp, brittle sound that contained no actual humor. Discuss? There's nothing to discuss. I'm documenting this entire health hazard of an establishment. She turned her phone camera toward Marcus now, recording him. What's your name? I want it for the report. My friends call me Mark, he replied, deliberately casual while noticing how the cafe's regular customers were exchanging knowing glances. Ms. Patel, who ran the bookstore next door and came in every afternoon for her chai latte, had abandoned all pretense of reading and was watching the spectacle with undisguised fascination. Karen scrolled through her contacts with dramatic flair. I'm calling my attorney right now. You people can't just serve whatever milk you feel like to customers with allergies. Marcus spotted Zach behind the counter, discreetly holding up the original order ticket, pointing to the clear almond notation next to milk preference. Rather than escalate by pointing this out again, Marcus tried a different approach. We take allergies very seriously here. All our staff are trained on cross-contamination protocols, he explained, noting the genuine confusion that flickered across Karen's face before she reassembled her mask of outrage. For a moment, he wondered if she even had a milk allergy or if this was entirely performative. The 911 call was Karen's coup d'éclat. There's a situation at Bean There Coffee, she declared into her phone, pacing dramatically. I've been served contaminated food, and now the staff is harassing me. Marcus exchanged glances with Zach, both baffled by the escalation from milk preference to alleged criminal activity. Regular customers began recording discreetly on their phones. Mrs. Abernathy, a retired judge and daily customer, approached Marcus. That woman is committing a misdemeanor right now, filing a false report, she whispered. Want me to intervene? Marcus shook his head, curious where this would lead. 23 minutes later, Officers Diaz and Thompson pushed through the door, looking less than thrilled about being dispatched to a coffee dispute. Officer Diaz, recognizing the shop but not casually dressed Marcus, did a quick scan for obvious health hazards while Thompson approached Karen, who was now tearfully describing how she'd been attacked by these people who deliberately tried to poison her with almond milk, which she now claims she was deathly allergic to despite having nearly finished the drink. While Karen continued her performance for Officer Thompson, Marcus noticed Officer Diaz quietly asking other customers about what they'd witnessed. The officer's expression grew increasingly skeptical as person after person shook their head or whispered brief accounts that contradicted Karen's theatrical allegations. A teenager who'd been studying in the corner even offered to show Diaz a video they'd been recording for their customer service nightmare TikTok series. Marcus checked his watch. It had been nearly 40 minutes since Karen first stormed in, and the afternoon rush would start soon. He caught Layla's eye behind the counter and nodded toward the line of customers forming at the door. She understood immediately, slipping back to her station to begin preparing for the influx, while Zach continued speaking with the officers. Ma'am, Officer Thompson was saying to Karen, his tone professional but tinged with the wariness of someone who'd seen this scenario play out before. Can you show me any symptoms of this allergic reaction you're describing? Karen touched her throat dramatically. It's internal swelling. You can't see it, but I can feel it. I should be in an ambulance right now instead of dealing with this interrogation. Thompson shared a look with Diaz that communicated volumes between the partners. Would you like us to call paramedics? Diaz asked, already knowing the answer. No, Karen snapped, then quickly modulated her tone. I mean, I have my EpiPen in the car. I'll be fine once these people are held accountable. She gestured broadly at Marcus and Zach as though they were criminal masterminds, rather than coffee purveyors. We'll need to speak with the owner, Officer Thompson said after 15 minutes of statements and counterstatements. Karen's victorious smile emerged. Yes, let's call the owner, she insisted, arms crossed. I have some choice words about how he runs this place. Marcus, who had been silently watching the spectacle unfold, cleared his throat. That won't be necessary, he said, pulling his wallet from his back pocket. He extracted a business card and handed it to Officer Diaz. The officer's expression shifted from professional neutrality to suppressed amusement. Mr. Chen, he acknowledged with a slight nod. Didn't recognize you without the apron. Karen's expression cycled through confusion, disbelief, and horror in rapid succession. You're the owner, she stammered. But you said you were new. Marcus smiled. I am new at being a barista today. Usually, I'm in the back or handling business matters. Mrs. Abernethy let out a delighted laugh that triggered a ripple of barely concealed chuckles throughout the cafe. Officer Thompson turned to Karen. "Ma'am, misuse of emergency services is a punishable offense. Consider this your warning." The cafe had gone pin-drop silent as everyone waited for Karen's response. Her face had flushed a deep crimson that clashed with her highlighted bob. She opened her mouth, closed it, and opened it again, a perfect imitation of a goldfish out of water. Marcus could see the mental calculations happening behind her eyes. Deny everything. Double down. Create a new accusation? "I think there's been a misunderstanding," she finally managed, her voice suddenly honeyed and conciliatory. "I was simply concerned about quality control in your establishment." She adjusted her designer bag on her shoulder, attempting to regain composure. Officer Diaz, who had been reviewing something on his department tablet, looked up. "Ms. Williamson, our dispatch shows this is your third call to emergency services this month for non-emergency matters." He glanced at his partner. "The dog walker incident at Riverside Park and the noise complaint about the children's birthday party." There were audible gasps from several customers. Marcus recognized the name Williamson from community Facebook groups, the new HOA board member who'd been trying to implement strict noise regulations and architectural conformity rules in the historically diverse Greenwich Heights development. Those were legitimate concerns for public safety, Karen protested, but her voice had lost its authoritative edge. The cafe audience wasn't buying it, and neither were the officers. The following morning, Marcus arrived to find a line stretching around the block. Word had spread through neighborhood social media, complete with video clips and dramatic reenactments. What locals now called the Karen confrontation had transformed Beam there into a must-visit destination. Marcus, wearing his owner's apron again, welcomed each customer personally. By afternoon, local news vans had appeared. "No comment," he told reporters, "except that Beam there welcomes everyone, even those having a bad day." The unexpected publicity inspired a new menu item. The misunderstanding mocha of the customer's choice of milk and a portion of proceeds going to de-escalation training for local businesses. 3 weeks later, as Marcus was locking up, a delivery person arrived with a large flower arrangement and a card. "I'm sorry for my inexcusable behavior," the unsigned note read. "Therapy and medication adjustments are helping with my anxiety disorder." Though Karen never returned in person, Marcus spotted her recommendation on several review sites. "Best coffee in town. Owner personally ensures customer satisfaction." The incident even inspired a monthly identity reveal night where staff switched roles and customers tried to guess who was really who. A community event that ultimately became Beam their signature attraction and Marcus's favorite day of each month. The Karen incident, as it came to be known in local business circles, had unexpected ripple effects throughout the neighborhood. Ms. Piddle from the bookstore next door reported a 30% increase in customers, many coming in after their Beam their visit clutching misunderstanding mochas. The Greenwich Heights HOA newsletter quietly announced Karen Williamson's resignation from the board to focus on personal matters, and residents reported a noticeable decrease in complaint letters about lawn ornaments and fence heights. 6 months after the incident, Marcus was invited to speak at the Small Business Association's annual conference about creative crisis management. As he prepared his presentation, he reflected on how what could have been a business disaster had instead become a defining moment for Beam there. The shop had expanded its community outreach, partnering with local mental health organizations to host monthly de-stress and discuss sessions where people could talk openly about anxiety and stress management over coffee. Zach, now promoted to assistant manager, had developed a comprehensive training program for new staff that included a section on de-escalation techniques he perfected during the Karen encounter. Whenever a particularly difficult